Hey everybody, it's Tracy from Guitar Tech Corner here in California. I'm just showing you a quick way of finishing up a black finish, a satin finish actually, on a neck shave that I did. This neck was huge and the customer wanted it thinner, so I used my spoke shave, then to a rasp, and then to sandpaper, and then I'm going to use this trans tint black and denatured alcohol to basically soak right into the maple fibers. That's the first coat right there. It's kind of bluish gray, but I'm going to put another coat on there and it'll darken up. Then I let it dry for about an hour and come back with 320 to bring down the wood fibers that stick up. And now I'm going to scrape off all the excess dye and stain off the side markers on both sides. The other side doesn't have side markers, but I want the rosewood to show through so it looks professional. So it's important to do that and then dust everything off and get it all cleaned up before you start putting the fill and finish on there. Now the fill and finish I've been using more and more around the shop. I don't think I could live without it now. So what I do is I get these inexpensive craft store foam brushes, and you can get a bag of them for like $5, and I'll go through about 3, 4, 5, if I'm going to do a neck. So with the fill and finish and the glue boost, I can get this finish work done in less than 10 minutes. It's amazing. It took me longer to shave the neck than do the finish work, whereas a few years back it would take me longer to do the other way around. So I will just do my first coat on here. Sometimes, depending on the neck or the project, I will add a little bit of acetone, and I put it in a medicine bottle like you can see right here so I can get the brush to fit in there and not contaminate the fill and finish bottle itself, and I can dip it in there. But I'll add a little tiny bit of acetone just so it can penetrate and soak into the fibers just a little deeper, gives it a little more bite, only on the first coat. And then I'll come back with a full thick coat of the fill and finish. So I've already moved on to a different brush. And I'm being real careful that I don't move too fast or too slow. I'm just going by feel here because these once the glue boost touches these brushes with the finish on it, they start getting rock hard. So you don't want to scratch up the finish as you're putting on more finish. So I'll turn it over. I'm halfway done here. You can kind of see where the gloss part is and the grayish part that's getting touched up. And after I do maybe 2 seal coats, I'll come back and finish up with the top coats. And so it's probably a process of using maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 brushes at the most, and then I get a nice even finish that I can sand out and get nice and level. So I start with 320 grit. I use my hand because I want to be able to feel all the high spots. You can use a wooden block if you want. Most people should probably use a backing block. I don't like using one because sometimes it takes off too much finish, and I don't like to do that and start back over with the dyeing process. Also, I take a Q-tip and I will go back over the fingerboard edges to seal up the dots and the rosewood because they seem to soak up a little bit more than the maple does. So I'll come back with that, and that way it gives me a nice good layering and a level texture between the seams of the fingerboard to the rosewood and maple. So that being said, I want to move on to sanding, but I'm going to do the spray of the glue boost here. It's dry, just like that, ready to go. And I'll come back and I'll use some 320 grit sandpaper, sand it back up and get it nice and semi-flat. I also have another technique that I use too, and I actually use just a standard Kleenex tissue that doesn't have any moisturizers in it, just a straight ahead Kleenex tissue that you can buy anywhere. I have a big box of these laying around all around the shop for everything. But I use that for a quick semi-French polish is what it's called. So I'll wear a glove, a nitrile glove, and I'll take that Kleenex, dip it into the fill and finish. And then you got to be really careful with this because this will want to stick to the finish fast. So I shake it off and I will wipe it on there real quick and move over real quick, and then I'll do about 3 little wipes like that and then get that tissue away from me because it will start hardening up, and it will also start getting hot, and it'll actually start smoking sometimes too, depending on the humidity in the shop. But that's a quick way to do a nice final coat to get it all cleaned up. So now the sanding process basically for me starts with 320 grit and then jumps up to 400 grit, and then I'll go to 600 grit, and I'll jump up to 800 grit. If you don't have a buffing wheel like I have a 14-inch buffing wheel. It's very powerful, professional, and very expensive, you're probably going to want to wet sand it to about 1200 to maybe 2000 grit. And then you can either hand polish it, or you can, use some of the buffing supplies you can get from some of the luthier warehouses and such. But I want to make sure I get a nice even sand so that I don't see any pores, any pockets, any ridges, and it's nice and even like that. That's what I'm looking for right there after 800 grit. So now I just polished it up at the buffing wheel. You can see the gloss that's on here. It's super, super shiny. I'd love to leave it that way, but the rest of the finish is a satin finish. So that being said, I gotta make sure I can dole out the finish to match up the rest of the guitar, because the whole guitar is this black matte finish. It's actually a polyester finish on the whole guitar. So bye-bye shiny guitar neck. I'm going to start using some steel wool. I start with 3-0, and then I move up to 4-0 steel wool. And it's also a matter of technique to do that too. You can use some Scotch-Brite and some different ways of going it to satin up your neck. But this gives it a nice comfortable feel. The customer likes it. It feels basically like a wooden neck, like there's no finish at all on it. So that being said, that's what it looks like when it's all finished. This technique from the beginning to the end was less than 15 minutes long. Just amazing. Glue boost and fill and finish just gave me this wonderful finish for this guitar that matched up perfectly to the existing finish on the rest of the body and the rest of the neck. I didn't have to take the gears off, but I did take them off for final pictures so you can kind of see how close it matched up. And I'm very, very happy with it. This product's incredible. So once again, Gear Up Products, you got my 2 thumbs up once again. Thanks, guys.